I'm sure most of you are familiar with origami. For those of you who are not, let me give you a bit of history on origami. Origami is the Japanese art of paper folding. The word origami comes from the Japanese words oru, meaning to fold, and kami, meaning paper. Origami is fun and easy to learn. Today, you will be learning how to make an origami jumping frog. The only things you will need to make an origami jumping frog are a standard 8.5 inch wide by 11 inch tall letter-sized paper and a flat surface. Here is an example of what your standard sheet of paper should look like. It is a blank sheet of paper. It does not have any folds. Take this sheet of paper and place it on a flat surface. Make sure the 8.5 inch end, the short end, of the sheet of paper faces toward you. Now we can make the first fold and or folds, which will help to bring the sheet of paper to the necessary size and proportions before we can begin to fold to create the origami frog. To make the first fold for this, take one of the corners of the sheet of paper nearest to you and fold over to one of the opposite 11 inch sides to make a triangle. Here is an example of how your sheet of paper should look. Do not unfold the sheet of paper. Take the 8.5 inch side, the short end, that is farthest from you, and take the excess paper and fold backward to make the sheet of paper a perfect triangle. Take your thumbnail and drag it along this fold. Now unfold this end of the sheet of paper so that you have the triangle fold and the excess paper flat on the surface you are using. Following the crease that you made with your thumbnail, tear away the excess paper. When you unfold the triangular shaped sheet of paper, you will see that you now have a perfect square. One more fold and then you will have the necessary size paper that you will use to make the origami frog. Fold the paper in half to make the square into a rectangular shape. Take your thumbnail and drag it along this fold. Now unfold the square and following the crease that you made with your thumbnail, tear the square into 2 equal halves. This is how your 2 pieces of paper should look. You will only need one of these pieces to make the origami frog. Place the paper on the flat surface with the end that has the fold facing toward you. Take the corner of the paper opposite to the corner with the fold and fold toward the opposite long side of the paper, making a triangular shape. Unfold the paper and you should see an X created from the folds. Turn the paper to bring the opposite short end with no folds toward you. Repeat the folds on this end of the paper. You should have now created the same X on this end. Starting with your paper, unfold it, take both corners from opposite short ends of the paper and also on the same long end of the paper, then fold them back in toward the opposite long side of the paper. The paper should now be a triangle. Make a fold in the middle of the triangle along the open seam you made from the corner folds, making a smaller triangle. Unfold the paper completely so that you can see the entire paper. The paper will not lay completely flat. The paper should show the 5 fold marks. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fold the paper from each short side in to meet on the fold line in the middle of the paper. Unfold the paper completely so that you can see the entire paper. Turn the paper over and lay it down flat on the other side. Repeat the same 2 folds, meeting both short ends in the middle of the paper. Unfold the paper completely, then flip it back over and lay it down flat. This time, when you fold both short ends to meet in the middle of the paper, allow the fold that intersects the X to bend inward. Here is an example of how your origami frog should look at this point. The frog is nearly complete. With the open seam face down and perpendicular, or straight up and down, lift the upper triangular flap only so that when you fold it over to meet the opposite triangular flap, you will still have a square. Repeat the same fold on the opposite upper triangular flap. Move both flaps down to their original position. Leave the paper square with the seam face down and perpendicular, or straight up and down. Starting with the upper triangular flap nearest to you, fold the point of the triangle in to meet the horizontal, or left to right seam. Repeat the same fold with the opposite triangular flap. Here's what your origami frog should look like at this stage. Flip the paper over to the other side with the open seam horizontal, or left to right. Take the corner of the triangular flap closest to you and fold toward you so that the corner of the flap and the tip of the triangle are parallel, like the number 11. The ones are parallel. It doesn't need to be perfectly parallel. Repeat this fold on the remaining 3 corners. Flip the paper back over to the other side with one triangle point end facing you and the other end triangle point facing away from you. Now you should see the origami frog taking shape. 2 more folds and the origami jumping frog will be finished. This next fold will give the origami frog its shape. On the end closest to you, Take the triangle point and fold away from you to meet the triangle folds to the left and right. Here is how your origami frog should look. Take the paper frog and flip it over and place it down with the flat edge closest to you and the pointed end facing away from you. Using the line of the open seam as a guideline, fold the paper frog in half. The back legs of the paper frog should lay evenly on top of the front legs. Again, this doesn't have to match perfectly. Keeping the paper frog folded in half, fold the end of the frog with the flat edge back toward you so it is even with the new flat edge you made from folding the paper frog in half. Flip the paper frog back over to the other side. You will now have a finished origami jumping frog. This is the fun part. To make the frog jump, take your index finger and place it on the middle of the rear flat edge of the frog. Pressing down with your index finger, then releasing, the flat edge will make the frog jump forward. That is a fun, easy, and simple way to make an origami jumping frog. You only need two things to make an origami jumping frog. You need a sheet of paper and a flat surface. Both of these things are easy to find and simple to use. Origami is a very fascinating type of arts and craft, which is why origami can be fun and easy for all ages.